What is the Alpha Strike in Battletech? And as a new mech warrior, how do we perform this? As a mech commander, how do we take advantage of it on the Hex map? And I wanted to build on this from the vlog, the Battletech vlog that I posted a few days ago, building and taking some hover units as opportunity. This idea, just to framework it as we look at the Alpha Strike, not to spend a lot of battle value. I'm not talking about 800, 1,000 battle value, but in a 5K battle value game, 300 or 400 battle value to buy some really fast, close range hover vehicles. And they kind of hang out in your deployment zone, waiting for that moment, waiting for that opportunity. The opportunity they're waiting for is, I can't tell you when it's going to happen, but it will happen. A mech takes a headshot, an opposing mech. The pilot fails the consciousness check, passes out. A mech falls down, is prone, can't get up. Crazy things that happen in Battletech. All of a sudden, a mech goes to internals, and that ammo is sitting right there where you will zoom forward and take advantage of it. So there are these moments in Battletech where, depending on the dice, the randomness, you want to have a little something to follow up. Now we've got that framework. I pushed that up to the Battletech playlist. Now the Alpha Strike. So the Alpha Strike is a tool, a tactic, that when the opportunity presents itself, besides being really, really fun, it can possibly change the course of the game. But risk versus reward, ROI, return on investment, you can get into trouble very, very fast. So now that we've got that framework, the Alpha Strike is where you fire all of your weapons, all of your mech weapons, on one target. And the idea is to cripple or destroy the target, preferably destroy the target, but essentially smash you before you can smash me. And what this does is, if the Alpha Strike is successful in one game turn, it removes an opposing mech, so there's less guns on the table, there's less area control. It could possibly, depending on the unit composition of the game, mess with initiative, right? We've explored, as soon as you start losing mechs and machines, initiative is a big deal. You've got less stuff to move. That's taken out in one possible turn, not to mention affecting mission outcomes and battle value outcomes. So the Alpha Strike, firing all of your weapons into one target. Now, what's the ideal Alpha Strike? Generally, if I'm going to Alpha Strike with a stock Locust of a medium laser and 2 machine guns, that's not much of an Alpha Strike. As opposed to a heavy or an assault mech, Alpha Striking with a Warhammer, Alpha Striking with, say, an Atlas or an Awesome. That's a different story. So we need that tonnage where we can mount multiple weapon systems to be able to effectively fire and concentrate those weapons to destroy a target. So what we generally see is really heavies and assaults are doing the Alpha Strike. Always a weight class down. If I'm a medium mech, I can't really Alpha Strike against a heavy or an assault, but I can if I can catch it. If I can catch it, Alpha Strike on a light. Certain lights could Alpha Strike on a light. Look at the Jenner. Jenner could Alpha Strike potentially on a light mech. So you need to balance that out into your matrix, but generally speaking, we're talking about heavies and assaults. Next would be the range, because I want to be able to fire everything and make those decisions firing all at once. So generally speaking, we want to be at medium or short range, because we've got long range weapons, medium and short ranges. I at least want everything to be preferably in medium to short range. What that is now going to look like, of course, is this idea of cutting down modifiers. If I'm going to be firing everything, I'd like to try and influence what I'm going to hit. I can't necessarily control how fast my opponent moves. I mean, I can pick a mech that I want to target and see how that goes, but I can look to control my modifiers, generally walking, jumping, running, or standing still. So can I get into a place where at least I'm not moving to Alpha Strike to deliver that Alpha Strike? Or if I have to, is at least walking to get into position? Now we fire in that moment. Hopefully the dice gods are with me. The after effects. If I'm Alpha Striking with a Stalker, that's a lot of heat. We need to look at the possibility of At the very least, can I avoid that first shutdown? There might be some mechs out there that if I alpha strike, it's going to push the heat and I'm going to have negative modifiers on movement and firing. Okay, we can possibly clear that. But generally, I'm looking at a shutdown or possibly ammo explosions. So now we get into the question of a true effective alpha strike type unit, type mech. I would say ideally is primarily energy based. And just to kind of jump into the future a little bit, because we're looking at Inner Sphere, when we look at some of the clan mechs that are pure energy based, that have 10 or 15 pulse lasers, we're looking at that type of stuff. The alpha strike on there is just absolutely brutal, especially with modifiers that can bring that down. So generally speaking, a alpha strike machine is one that has the ability to push the heat and not be weighted down with ammo for those ammo explosions. Then there's some machines that you could alpha strike with, like the Grasshopper. If I eject that LRM 5-pack, eject that ammo, so maybe on the way in, I only take in 3 or 4 packs, right? When you buy a mech for the battle value, side note, when you buy a mech, sidebar for a moment here, get some more infantry on that table, get some Karnovs on that table, get some warriors on that table. When you look at the stock mech, that is with full ammo. Over the course of a lance or two, depending on your tactica, you'll have to calculate the battle value. You can take less ammunition and save off of a little bit of battle value. Do I really need all those rounds? Now, if it's a longbow or an archer where I'm going to be firing 20 LRM 20 packs every single turn, I don't even need to know the modifiers. If I've got line of sight or I've got spotters with my Karnov, I'm going to be hitting you indirect. Yes, certain machines, I want the maximum amount. When I've got my 2 Jaeger mechs in the back lighting things up with autocannons, yes, I want the maximum amount. I mean, you even want to reload. But most machines, what we see, do you really need all that ammo? So if I'm going to kind of look to take advantage of some alpha strikes, or in the case of the Grasshopper, where I've got that 5-pack in the head, just to lay down some firepower on the way in, once I close, especially if we're playing on a hex map or two, where we're going to close pretty fast, am I really going to use the 5-pack? I might take it, even if it's under those minimums, just put some more stuff out there. But by dropping it now, I have an energy mech and I don't have to worry. So you need to kind of look at that energy mech versus non-energy mech, because you're going to push that heat and possibly explode. The timing of the alpha strike, the timing is next. Am I going to take my stalker and walk up to your stalker and try to alpha strike you? I mean, it would be pretty interesting from a narrative point of view, but against a heavy or assault mech, even with all that firepower, even if you're standing still and I'm standing still, you're going to take that armor. So generally the alpha strike happens when there's been a little push and pull. You've taken some damage, some armor's weakened, maybe we're starting to get rid of armor and we're going to internals, or maybe in the declaration phase of targeting, I'm going to declare 2 of my targets on one of your mech, because we declare targets and that happens in theory at the same time. Maybe the idea is, look, I'll fire the Warhammer first and see what happens there, and then declare all of the other weapons on my machine. See how that goes, right? Pushing back and forth with that. Or a turn before, firing to weaken you and then deliver the alpha strike. And again, right, if I heavy mech against a medium, I won't say against a light, because if I'm a heavy mech warrior pilot and I'm catching you as a light mech, something kind of went wrong. You need to be running, gunning, and jumping and keeping range, even if you're going to play aggressively. But if I'm able to have that much tonnage on you and be able to take a heavier machine versus a lighter machine, that's the ideal candidate for the alpha strike. Leaving it on a side note, just with the tech advance of clans versus Inner Sphere, alpha strike is an extremely, extremely viable for clans, because they can clear heat faster, generally speaking. They have a number of, before we even get into omnis, they have a number of great mechs that are pure energy-based. Well, I'm not really a star commander. I'm more of an Inner Sphere commander, even though I play Jade Falcon. There is a mech out there that has something like 10 ER lasers, medium lasers in each right and left arm. It's got something insane, right? That type of machine someone out there in the comments knows that clanner mech we're talking about. That type of machine is well suited for the Alpha Strike. There's a lot of interesting machines that can do it. So you've got that tool, you've got that tech, you've got some ideas. And again, this goes back to the framework of the vlog I posted a few days ago. I don't go into a game saying I'm just going to Alpha Strike the heck out of everything. I mean, maybe for the lulls. But if we're playing tactically, I'm looking and saying, is there an opportunity to do this? Did something happen? Did something pivot in the game where now I can do this? What machines are up on deck? How can I do it? And how do we push that tactica forward?